Hello. Microphone check 212. It's your boy kicking it with Timmy B. We got another news update for you. It's January 28th, 2025. White House Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt holds her first news briefing. We got a video. Shout out to PBS News. They got some footage of the recent briefing today by one and only Karoline Leavitt. If you enjoyed this video, please consider hitting the like, share, and the subscribe button. We're going to go check this out. I got a video with Tom Holman and Dr. Phil arresting some guy. It's very interesting. Want to go tap in with that, and let's go see what's going on with the deportations beyond that. I'm hearing some big federal grants have been, or funding have been, I guess, halted. I want to go check into that as well. And there's something going on in LA where they have someone putting up, it's crazy. I seen it a couple days ago. I should have reported on it as soon as I seen it, but it almost seems like a lot of this stuff, you just see it and it just goes away. You just never hear anything about it. This is something like I'm starting to see a pattern here of a lot of interesting things being put out there, like news that people aren't talking about. And I think it's nothing, and it just becomes a huge thing. Apparently, there's something going on in LA where there's folks putting down SOS signs in some kind of junkyard. I have a post that we're going to go check that out, and we might end up deep diving into that. We'll have to go see where that goes, because apparently there's a couple other people. Shout out to God's Rule. He did a short segment on his show about it, and that's somebody that I go watch. So it's like, if he's doing it, he's doing some digging into it. It seems like almost a no-brainer for me to go do some research into it. So we'll probably do some online research, and then I'm going to do some offline research, because it seems somewhat credible that there's something going on in LA and people are putting up these SOS signs in the ground for a reason, right? It says something about the police department and help, and it has somebody's name or something like that. It's very interesting stuff. And then apparently some guy who lives nearby took a video of it from the outside. There's, like from the fence, and you could clearly see that the stuff is, lined up in specific order to spell something, to say something, to get a message across. So I don't know if anybody's heard of that yet, but definitely something to look up if you're interested. But yeah, I figure that we kind of just start this off the beginning here. It seems like there's like 8 minutes of just everyone's getting set up here, and then Miss Leavitt comes out and gives her briefing here. So this is the first time. This is her first briefing, to my understanding. She's the 36th press secretary. I think she's 27 years old. She's the youngest press secretary in American history. It's very interesting, folks. So it's your boy kicking it with Timmy B. We're gonna go see what she says here. It seems like she's kind of going viral here. There's a lot of breaking news that she discusses, so I figure that we should probably do a stream for it. I think it's about an hour. I think her speech is maybe 40 something minutes. It's the lady from CNN, right? I think that's the lady from CNN. It's very interesting. But anyway, I hope everyone's doing well. This is just going to be us checking out the briefing and then a couple things after. Hopefully I won't take too much of your time. But yeah, very interesting. Apparently, Susan Wiles, the chief of staff, she looked into what those drones were about. The drones that everyone keeps seeing or something like that flying around. I'm hearing she says something about it's the FAA issued those drones out or something like that. It's very interesting. And that seemed to be all the information that we were getting there, huh? It's very, I don't know. Seems limited to me. Why? Why were they being issued out? What were they looking for? Or who or what were they looking for? Why did they have to be out at these specific times? You know what I mean? Do they pose a risk here, right? Like a national security risk here? It's just a lot of questions. A lot of questions.
Just for the entrance. Oh, you're all good. I've never even seen this room yet, so it's kind of crazy. It's packed. No. Not since 4 years ago like this. Oh, like a tuna fish. Yeah. Imagine being right there. Sardine.
Good afternoon, everybody. How are we?
Here she is.
Good to see all of you. It's an honor to be here with all of you.
Karoline
A lot of
Leavitt.
familiar faces in the room, a lot of new faces.
Wow.
President Trump is back, and the golden age of America has most definitely begun.
Let's go.
The Senate has already confirmed 5 of President Trump's exceptional cabinet nominees: Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth,
Shout out to them.
CIA Director John Ratcliffe,
Shout out
Homeland
to them.
Security Secretary Kristi Noem,
Shout out to
and
Kristi
Treasury
Noem.
Secretary Scott Bessent. It is
Shout out to Scott
imperative
Bessent.
that the Senate continues to confirm the remainder of the president's well-qualified nominees as quickly as possible. As you have seen during the past week, President Trump is hard at work fulfilling the promises that he made to the American people on the campaign trail. Since taking the oath of office, President Trump has taken more than 300 executive actions, secured nearly $1 trillion in U.S. investments, deported illegal alien rapists, gang members, and suspected terrorists from our homeland, and restored common sense to the federal government. I want to take a moment to go through some of these extraordinary actions. On day 1, President Trump declared a national emergency at our southern border to end the 4-year-long invasion of illegal aliens under the previous administration. Additionally, President Trump signed an executive order to end catch and release and finish construction of his effective border wall. By using every lever of his federal power, President Trump has sent a loud and clear message to the entire world. America will no longer tolerate illegal immigration, and this president expects that every nation on this planet will cooperate with the repatriation of their citizens. As proven by this weekend, when President Trump swiftly directed his team to issue harsh and effective sanctions and tariffs on the Colombian government, upon hearing they were denied a U.S. military aircraft full of their own citizens who were deported by this administration. Within hours, the Colombian government agreed to all of President Trump's demands, proving America is once again respected on the world stage. So, to foreign nationals who are thinking about trying to illegally enter the United States, think again. Under this president, you will be detained and you will be deported. Every day, Americans are safer because of the violent criminals that President Trump's administration is removing from our communities. On January 23rd, ICE New York arrested a Turkish national for entry without inspection who is a known or suspected terrorist. On January 23rd, ICE San Francisco arrested a citizen of Mexico unlawfully present in the United States who has been convicted of continuous sexual abuse of a child aged 14 years or younger.
That's crazy.
ICE
They got a
St.
whole
Paul
PowerPoint too.
has
over there.
arrested a citizen of Honduras who was convicted of fourth-degree criminal sexual conduct with a minor. ICE Buffalo arrested a citizen of Ecuador who has been convicted of rape. ICE Boston arrested a
crazy.
citizen of the Dominican Republic who has a criminal conviction for second-degree murder. This criminal was convicted of murder for beating his pregnant wife to death in front of her 5-year-old son.
Wow.
And ICE St. Paul also arrested a citizen of Mexico who was convicted of possessing pornographic material of a minor on a work computer.
Oh no.
These are the heinous individuals that this administration is removing from American communities every single day, and to the brave state and local law enforcement officers, CBP, and
Shout out
ICE
to them.
agents who are helping in the facilitation of this deportation operation, President Trump has your back, and he is grateful for your hard work. On the economic front, President Trump took immediate action to lower costs for families who are suffering from 4 long years of the Biden administration's destructive and inflationary policies. President Trump ordered the heads of all executive departments and agencies to help deliver emergency price relief to the American people, untangle our economy from Biden's regulatory constraints, and end the reckless war on American energy. President Trump also signed sweeping executive orders to end the weaponization of government and restore common sense to the federal bureaucracy. He directed all federal agencies to terminate illegal diversity, equity, and inclusion programs to help return America to a merit-based society. President Trump also signed an executive order declaring it is now the policy of the federal government that there are only 2 sexes, male and female. Sanity has been restored. Before I take your questions, I would like to point out to all of you once again have access to the most transparent and accessible president in American history. There has never been a president who communicates with the American people and the American press corps as openly and authentically as the 45th and now 47th president of the United States. This past week, President Trump has held multiple news conferences, gaggled on Air Force One multiple times, and sat down for a 2-part interview on Fox News, which aired last week. As Politico summed it up best, Trump is everywhere again. And that's because President Trump has a great story to tell about the legendary American revival that is well underway. And in keeping with this revolutionary media approach that President Trump deployed during the campaign, the Trump White House will speak to all media outlets and personalities.
I'm hearing that there's going to be some good
Not
news
just-
here for the independent news media outlets. Let's get
The
back to
legacy
it.
media who are seated in this room. Because according to recent polling from Gallup, Americans' trust in mass media has fallen to a record low. Millions of Americans, especially young people, have turned from traditional television outlets and newspapers to consume their news from podcasts, blogs, social media, and other independent outlets.
The old legacy media, it's over with now. It's crazy. It's crazy.
It's essential to our team that we share President Trump's message everywhere and adapt this White House to the new media landscape in 2025. To do this, I am excited to announce the following changes will be made to this historic James S. Brady briefing room, where Mr. Brady's legacy will endure. This White House believes strongly in the First Amendment, so it's why our team will work diligently to restore the press passes of the 440 journalists whose passes were wrongly revoked by the previous administration. We're also opening up this briefing room to new media voices who produce news-related content and whose outlet is not already represented by one of the seats in this room. We welcome independent journalists, podcasters, social media influencers, and content creators to apply for credentials to cover this White House. And you can apply now on our new website, whitehouse.gov/newmedia. Starting today, this seat in the front of the room which is usually occupied by the press secretary's staff, will be called the new media seat. My team will review the applications and give credentials to new media applicants who meet our criteria and pass United States Secret Service requirements to enter the White House complex. So in light of these announcements, our first questions for today's briefing will go to these new media members, whose outlets, despite being some of the most viewed news websites in the country, have not been given seats in this room. And before I turn to questions, I do have news directly from the President of the United States that was just shared with me in the Oval Office. From President Trump directly, an update on the New Jersey drones. After research and study, the drones that were flying over New Jersey in large numbers were authorized to be flown by the FAA for research and various other reasons. Many of these drones were also hobbyists, recreational, and private individuals that enjoy flying drones. In time, it got worse due to curiosity. This was not the enemy. A statement from the President of the United States to start this briefing with some news. And with that, I will turn it over to questions. And we will begin with our new media members, Mike Allen from Axios, Matt Boyle from Breitbart. Mike, why don't you go ahead?
So it just got out of hand, right? So meaning other people started flying their drones to go see what the other people's drones were. And that's what we were saying. Man, I don't know. So someone's like, man, I just see this drone out here, so now I'm going to go get my huge drone that you just don't normally see. I'm going to get this huge car-sized drone, and I'm going to fly it over to the most random places. But it's the FAA, though. I don't know. It's very interesting.
Karoline, does the president see anything fishy about deep sea, either its origins or its cost? And could China's ability to make
it still doesn't explain why. Why?
These models quicker, cheaper affect our thinking about expanding generation data centers, chip manufacturing?
Sure. The president was asked about DeepSeek last night on Air Force.
That seems to be going viral right now, and NVIDIA and NVIDIA losing a lot of money. I think they just lost a lot of money. Was that today or yesterday? Or Monday or something like that. It's insane work.
One, when he gaggled for, I think, the third or fourth time throughout the weekend with members of the traveling press corps. The president said that he believes that this is a wake-up call to the American AI industry. The last administration sat on their hands and allowed China to rapidly develop this AI program. And so President Trump believes in restoring American AI dominance. And that's why he took very strong executive action this past week to sign executive orders to roll back some of the onerous regulations on the AI industry. And President Trump has also proudly appointed the first AI and crypto czar at this White House, David Sachs, whom I spoke with yesterday.
David Sachs is the they have a crypto czar now. We have I'm like speaking in like terms like I'm not. We have a crypto czar at the. That's wow. David Sachs. I have to look into all that. That's big time because Donald Trump went to what was that crypto convention or whatever, and he spoke there. And I'm sure a lot of people have approached him about crypto and wanted him to invest. And I think he just has his own coin, or Melania has her own coin. It's hard for me to keep up with the crypto here, but it does seem like something he would do, to hire somebody to be able to do that. And that's like the first of the United States to have someone who's in charge of crypto out of the federal government. That's wild.
Very knowledgeable on this subject, and his team is here working every single day to ensure American AI dominance. As for the national,
and that's important too. The AI part is like, that is the space race to be able to, or the new arms race to be able to, I wouldn't say master, but like fully develop a very powerful AI that allows you to enhance your whole everything. You know what I mean? It's very interesting how these folks are like pushing for this, and it doesn't seem good. Shout out to Miss Leavitt. She has the little cross and everything for the necklace. Let's go.
National security implications. I spoke with NSC this morning. They are looking into what those may be, and when I have an update, I will share it with you, Mike.
Caroline, you say restore U.S. dominance. Is there a fear that the U.S. either is following or has fallen behind? And how would the president make sure the U.S. stays ahead?
No, the president is confident that we will restore American dominance in AI.
Yeah,
Matt.
so Caroline, first off, thank you to you.
So that's stating that we're not leading in this right now. It seems like China is the leading power or the leading developer of AI technology. That's got to feel some kind of way. They just I think their military just released their 6th generational fighter aircraft or something like that. It's very interesting. We gotta get back in this because it seems like we are definitely lagging behind. But that's just my personal opinion. But all this stuff is just wild. If you start getting to these supercomputers that they're talking about for the Stargate program and everything, like you're just messing with some insane stuff. Obviously, it's way beyond my logic and thinking, but it's interesting to kind of like think about.
Trump for actually giving voices to new media outlets that represent millions and millions of Americans. The thing I would add, I've got a two-part question. Just can you expand upon what steps the White House is going to take to bring more voices, not less, which is what our founder Andrew Breitbart believed in, into this room where they rightfully belong?
Yeah. Absolutely. And as I said in my opening statement, Matt, it is a priority of this White House to honor the First Amendment. And it is a fact that Americans are consuming their news media from various different platforms, especially young people. And as the youngest press secretary in history, thanks to President Trump, I take great pride in opening up this room to new media voices to share the president's message with as many Americans as possible. In doing so, number one, we will ensure that outlets like yours, Axios and Breitbart, which are widely respected and viewed outlets, have an actual seat in this room every day. We also, again, encourage anybody in this country, whether you are a TikTok content creator, a blogger, a podcaster, if you are producing legitimate news content, no matter the medium, you will be allowed to apply for press credentials to this White House. And as I said earlier,
Let's go.
Our new media website is whitehouse.gov/new media. And so we encourage people to apply. Again, as long as you are creating news-related content of the day and you're a legitimate independent journalist, you're welcome to cover this White House.
And secondly, Caroline, you said you laid out several of the actions that President Trump has taken. Obviously, it's a stark contrast to the previous administration, a breakneck speed from President Trump. Can we expect that pace to continue as the first 100 days moves along here and beyond that?
Absolutely. There's no doubt President Trump has always been the hardest working man in politics. I think that's been proven over the past week. This president has again signed more than 300 executive orders. He's taken historic action. I gavelled aboard Air Force One to mark the first 100 days of this administration, 4 p.m. last Friday, or first 100 hours rather. And this president did more in the first 100 hours than the previous president did in the first 100 days. So President Trump, I think you can all expect for him to continue to work at this breakneck speed, so I hope you're all ready to work very hard. I know that we are. Zeke Miller.
Thanks, Caroline. A question that we've asked.
I mean, I will admit as well, I mean, so much stuff has been going down within the past week. Then it's just all this terrible stuff that has happened over the past few years. It's just crazy. You got to try to fix all this stuff. You can't fix everything. You can't fix some things. Can you really fix things? You know, can people? It's just it's so wild. It's so wild.
Your predecessors of both parties in this job, when you're up here in this briefing room speaking to the American public, do you view yourself and your role as advocating on behalf of the president or providing the unvarnished truth that is, not to lie, not to obfuscate to the American people.
I commit
Interesting.
to telling the truth from this podium every single day. I commit to speaking on behalf of the President of the United States. That is my job. And I will say it's very easy to speak truth from this podium when you have a president who is implementing policies that are wildly popular with the American people. And that's exactly what this administration is doing.
Let's
it's
go.
correcting the lies and the wrongs of the past 4 years, many of the lies that have been told to your faces in this very briefing room. I will not do that. But since you brought up Truth Seek, I would like to point out, while I vowed to provide the truth from this podium, we ask that all of you in this room hold yourselves to that same standard. We know for a fact there have been lies that have been pushed by many legacy media outlets in this country about this president, about his family, and we will not accept that. We will call you out when we feel that your reporting is wrong or there is misinformation about this White House. So yes, I will hold myself to the truth, and I expect everyone in this room to do the same.
And Karoline, just on a substantive question, yesterday the White House Office of Management and Budget directed across the board freeze, with some exceptions for individual assistance, we understand, to federal grants. It's caused a lot of confusion around the country among Head Start providers, among providers services to homeless veterans, Medicaid providers, states saying they're having trouble accessing the portal.
That's like the real important thing that's going on today. Apparently, there's issues with the FAFSA, Medicaid, what's it, Section 8 housing, and a bunch of other federal grants and stuff like that. But supposedly, I think the AP had said that all of those payments are still supposed to go through, so on and so forth. So we'll see what Ms. Leavitt has to say about all this.
Could you help us clear up some of the confusion?
Yes.
Give some
Because people are like freaking out. It's very interesting. A lot of people use these services, whether how anybody feels like about it. A lot of people use these services. So if President Donald Trump is planning on getting rid of those and these people are on it, is he going to come back? So on. So many questions, right? So many questions.
some certainty to folks, and also, is that uncertainty, how does that uncertainty service the president's voters?
Well, I think there's only uncertainty in this room amongst the media. There's no uncertainty in this building. So let me provide the certainty and the clarity that all of you need. This is not a blanket pause on federal assistance and grant programs from the Trump administration. Individual assistance, that includes, I'm not naming everything that's included, but just to give you a few examples, Social Security benefits, Medicare benefits, food stamps, welfare benefits, assistance that is going directly to individuals will not be impacted by this pause. And I want to make that very clear to any Americans who are watching at home who may be a little bit confused about some of the media reporting. This administration, if you are receiving individual assistance from the federal government, you will still continue to receive that. However, it is the responsibility of this president and this administration to be good stewards of taxpayer dollars. That is something that President Trump campaigned on. That's why he has launched DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, who is working alongside OMB. And that's why OMB sent out this memo last night, because the president signed an executive order directing OMB to do just this. And the reason for this is to ensure that every penny that is going out the door is not conflicting with the executive orders and actions that this president has taken. So what does this pause mean? It means no more funding for illegal DEI programs. It means no more funding for the Green New scam that has cost American taxpayers tens of billions of dollars. It means no more funding for transgenderism and wokeness across our federal bureaucracy and agencies. No more funding for Green New Deal social engineering policies. Again, people who are receiving individual assistance, you will continue to receive that. And President Trump is looking out for you by issuing this pause because he is being good steward of your taxpayer dollars.
I mean, this lady's very professional.
Karoline, sure.
Wow. Karine Jean-Pierre would never. Would never.
How long is this pause going to last, and how is the Trump administration recommending that organizations that rely on federal funding make payroll, pay their rent in the meantime?
It is a temporary pause, and the Office of Management and Budget is reviewing the federal funding that has been going out the door. Again, not for individual assistance, but for all of these other programs that I mentioned. I also spoke with the incoming director of OMB this morning, and he told me to tell all of you that the line to his office is open for other federal government agencies across the board, and if they feel that programs are necessary and in line with the president's agenda, then the Office of Management and Budget will review those policies. I think this is a very responsible measure. Again, the past 4 years, we've seen the Biden administration spend money like drunken sailors. It's a big reason we've had an inflation crisis in this country, and it's incumbent upon this administration to make sure, again, that every penny is being accounted for honestly.
OMB, United States Office of Management and Budget. It's a government agency. It's the largest office within the executive office of the President of the United States. Oversees the performance of federal agencies and administers the federal budget. Wow, let's go.
Close this pause with so little notice? Why not give organizations more time to plan for the fact that they are about to lose, in some cases, really crucial federal funding, at least for a period of time?
There was notice. It was the executive order that the president signed. There's also a freeze on hiring, as you know, a regulatory freeze, and there's also a freeze on foreign aid. And this is, again, incredibly important to ensure that this administration is taking into consideration how hard the American people are working. And their tax dollars actually matter to this administration. You know, just during this pause, DOGE and OMB have actually found that there was $37 million that was about to go out the door to the World Health Organization, which is an organization, as you all know, that President Trump, with the swipe of his pen in that executive order, is no longer wants the United States to be a part of. So that wouldn't be in line with the president's agenda. DOGE and OMB also found that there was about to be 50 million taxpayer dollars that went out the door to fund condoms in Gaza. That is a preposterous waste of taxpayer money. So that's what this pause is focused on, being good stewards of tax dollars.
That's crazy. What? I mean, what? On just like so many levels. What? Oh man, that's wild. If that's true, that's wild.
Does it affect Meals on Wheels or Head Start or disaster aid?
Again, it does not affect individual assistance that's going to Americans. To follow up on Nancy,
Do you think there will be a list of who is affected and how much money is affected? How will these contractors and organizations know if they are actually having their funding frozen? And then secondly, if you're willing, can you just clarify, is the end goal of this to essentially challenge Congress or to prove that the president can withhold federal funding? In other words, is this an attempt to pick a fight to prove that he can do this?
No, absolutely not. As it says right here in the memo, which I have, and I'd encourage all of you to read it, it says the American people elected President Trump to be the president of the United States and gave him a mandate to increase the impact of every federal dollar. This memo requires federal agencies to identify and review all federal financial assistance programs and supporting activities consistent with the president's policies and requirements. The American people gave President Trump an overwhelming mandate on November 5th, and he's just trying to ensure that the tax money going out the door in this very bankrupt city actually aligns with the will and the priorities of the American people. So will there be a line?
Yes. Welcome. You look great. You're doing a great job. You talked about transparency, and some of us in this room know how just transparent President Trump has been the last 5 or 6 years. I think you'll do the same. My question is, do you think this latest incident with the president of Colombia is indicative of the global, powerful respect they have for President Trump moving forward, not only to engage in economic diplomacy with these countries, but also world peace?
Absolutely. I'll echo the answer that the president gave on Air Force One last night when he was asked a very similar question by one of your colleagues in the media. This signifies peace through strength is back. And this president will not tolerate illegal immigration into America's interior. And he expects every nation on this planet, again, to cooperate with the repatriation of their citizens who illegally entered into our country and broke America's laws. Won't be tolerated. And as you saw, the Colombian government quickly folded and agreed to all of President Trump's demands. Flights are underway once again.
She said quickly folded. Bars. Let's go. Oh, I like this lady. She's
If I
nice.
may. President Trump had said on the campaign trail that he would deport pro-Hamas students who are here on visas. And on his first day in office, he signed an executive order that said, quote, "The U.S. must ensure that admitted aliens and aliens otherwise already present in the U.S. do not bear hostile attitudes towards its citizens, culture, government, institutions, or founding principles." So should we take this executive order as Trump saying he would be open to deporting those students who are here on visas but, hold pro-Hamas sympathies?
The president is open to deporting individuals who have broken our nation's immigration laws. So if they are here illegally, then certainly he is open to deporting them. And that's what this administration is hard at work at doing. We receive data from DHS and from ICE every single day. From what we hear on the ground, ICE agents are feeling incredibly empowered right now because they actually have a leader in this building who is supporting them in doing their jobs that they were hired to do, which is to detain, arrest, and deport illegal criminals who have invaded our nation's borders over the past 4 years. That's what the president is committed to seeing. Peter.
Just following up on the question on immigration first. President Trump, during the course of the campaign in 2024, said the following about illegal immigration. He said, "They're going back home where they belong, and we start with the criminals. There are many, many criminals." NBC News has learned that ICE arrested 1,179 undocumented immigrants on Sunday, but nearly half of them, 566 of the migrants, appear to have no prior criminal record besides entering the country illegally. Is the president still focused exclusively, which is a civil crime, it's not criminal?
It's a federal crime.
So I'm asking though. He said he was going to focus on those violent offenders first. So is violent offenders no longer the predicate for these people to be deported?
The president has said countless times on the campaign trail, I've been with him at the rallies, I know you've been there covering them too, Peter, that he is focused on launching the largest mass deportation operation in American history of illegal criminals. And if you are an individual, a foreign national, who illegally enters the United States of America, you are, by definition, a criminal. And so therefore, you are subject to deportation.
I apologize for interrupting. So to be clear, it's not violent criminals do not receive precedence in terms of the deportations taking place.
The president has also said two things can be true at the same time. We want to deport illegal criminals, illegal immigrants from this country, but the president has said that, of course, the illegal criminal drug dealers, the rapists, the murderers, the individuals who have committed heinous acts on the interior of our country and who have terrorized law-abiding American citizens, absolutely, those should be the priority of ICE, but that doesn't mean that the other illegal criminals who entered our nation's borders are off the table.
Understood. Then let me ask you a separate question about the confusion that still exists across the country right now as it relates to the freeze or the pause as it's described. President Trump, of course, ran one of the key policy items was that he was going to lower prices, lower the cost of everything from groceries, as he often said. But in many of the cases, it would seem that some of these moves could raise prices for real Americans on everything from low-income heating, that program, child care programs. Will nothing that the president's doing here in terms of the freeze in these programs raise prices on ordinary Americans?
What particular actions are you referring to that would...
I'm referring to LHEAP right now. That's the low-income heating program, for example. We can talk about... There's no clarity, so I could refer to a lot of them. We don't know what they are specifically. Can you tell us that LHEAP is not one of those affected?
So you're asking a hypothetical based on programs that you can't even identify.
No, I just identified.
What I can tell you
just to be
is
clear, since you guys haven't identified, let's do it together just for Americans at home. Medicaid, is that affected?
I gave you a list of examples: Social Security, Medicare, welfare benefits, food stamps that will not be impacted by this federal pause. I can get you the full list after this briefing from the Office of Management and Budget. But I do want to address the cost cutting because that's certainly very important and cutting the cost of living in this country. President Trump has taken historic action over the past week to do that. He actually signed a memorandum to deliver emergency price relief for American families, which took a number of actions. I can walk you through those. He also repealed many onerous Biden administration regulations. We know over the past 4 years, American households has been essentially taxed $55,000 in regulations from the previous administration. President Trump, with the swipe of his pen, rescinded those, which will ultimately put more money back in the pockets of the American people. So deregulation is a big deal. And then when it comes to energy, I mean, the president signed an executive order to declare a national energy emergency urgency here at home, which is going to make America energy dominant. We know that energy is one of the #1 drivers of inflation. And so that's why the president wants to increase our energy supply to bring down costs for Americans. The Trump energy boom is incoming, and Americans can expect that.
Please share that. Thank you.
Karoline, I think some of the confusion I think may be here with this pause on federal funding. You've made it clear you're not stopping funds that go directly to individuals, but there certainly are lots of organizations that receive funding and then may pass along a benefit. Meals on Wheels, for one. They provide meals for over 2.2 million seniors. What is the president's message to Americans out there, many of whom supported him and voted for him, who are concerned that this is going to impact them directly, even if, as you said, the funding isn't coming directly to their wallet?
I have now been asked and answered this question 4 times. To individuals at home who receive direct assistance from the federal government, you will not be impacted by this federal freeze. In fact, OMB just sent out a memo to Capitol Hill with Q&A to clarify some of the questions and the answers that all of you are asking me right now. Again, direct assistance will not be impacted. I've been asked and answered about this OMB memo. There's many other topics of the day. Jackie
But
Heinrich.
indirect assistance,
Thank you,
Karoline, if it's
Karoline.
going to another organization and then trickling down.
Direct assistance that is in the hands of the American people will not be impacted. Again, as I said to Peter, we will continue to provide that list as it
This is
comes
important.
to fruition. But
Yeah.
OMB right now is
This is
focused on
important.
analyzing.
You need to specify this, especially for the folks in the back, for the folks in the front, the folks in the middle. You know what I mean? It needs to be specified. Let's get back into
the
it.
federal government's spending, which is exactly what the American people elected President Trump to do.
And one question on immigration, Karoline.
I think she's doing a great job.
Immigration.
That was a weird cut. I think she's doing a great job combating these folks. I think 1 or 2 of them definitely was very aggressive in a way. Like what's the word? It's like passive, like aggressive or something like that. It was so wild. She kind of combated them, and she seems to be reiterating it clear and concisely. That's the most important part. You're reiterating yourself, or you're making a point and you reiterate it clear and concise so these people can understand. That I think the Karine Jean-Pierre, she wasn't saying anything, and then she would just repeat herself over and over again. It's just like, where's the information? For you to be repeating yourself, we need some information. You need to have like good information. But I digress.
500 arrests ICE has made so far since President Trump came back into office. Can you just tell us the numbers? How
That's a
many
lot of
have
people.
a criminal record
I mean, compared to the millions of people that have come in here, I
versus
tell you,
those who are
that's
just
a
in the
lot.
country illegally?
All of them, because they illegally broke our nation's laws, and therefore they are criminals as far as this administration goes. I know the last administration didn't see it that way, so it's a big culture shift in our nation to view someone who breaks our immigration laws as a criminal, but that's
Bars.
exactly what they are.
You may have been going with the worst first. They all have a criminal record.
And welcome to the
If
briefing.
they broke
all
our
have
nation's
criminal
laws,
record.
yes, they are criminal. Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, bars. Is that really a real question? I'm just gonna go back. Let's just go back real quick. Hold up.
On
Listen to what this lady asked her.
Laws as a criminal, but that's exactly what they are.
You may have been going with the worst first. They all have a criminal record.
and welcome to the briefing.
If they
room.
broke our nation's laws, yes, they are criminal.
Yes, thank you. On
It's
certain
so-
security details for
It's so
figures like
hard
John
for me not to
Bolton,
laugh at the end of that. That's bars. Let's
Pompeo,
go.
Brian Hook. Senator Tom Cotton said that he's seen the intelligence and the threat from Iran is real for anyone who played a role in the Soleimani strike. He voiced concern it wouldn't just impact those individuals, but potentially their family, innocent bystanders, friends, anyone who's near them when they're out in public. Is the president open to reconsidering his decision?
The president was asked and answered this yesterday, and he was firm in his decision despite some of the comments that you had referenced. And he's made it very clear that he does not believe American taxpayers should fund security details for individuals who have served in the government for the rest of their lives. And there's nothing stopping these individuals that you mentioned from obtaining private security. That's where the president stands on it. I have no updates on that.
Is there any concern that this decision might jeopardize the administration's ability to hire the best advisors for these
kinds of positions in the future?
No, in fact, I've talked to the presidential personnel office who has told me directly that there is such an influx of resumes for this administration that it's incredibly overwhelming. There is no lack of talent for the Trump administration. Reagan,
Would he take any responsibility if anything happened to these people? Would he feel at all that his decision was a factor in that?
the president was asked and answered this yesterday. I defer you to his
Thanks,
comments.
Caroline.
Reagan, since you're in the back row, I hear you, the back row hasn't gotten much attention in the last 4 years, so I'm happy to answer your question.
And I can project. Does the president intend to permanently cut off funding to NGOs that are bringing illegal foreign nationals to the country, such as Catholic charities?
I am actually quite certain that the president signed an executive order that did just that, and I can point you to that.
One more, Caroline.
They're talking about bringing the Catholic charities are bringing in foreign nationals. Oh, man, that's crazy. Because they're talking about now the ICE folks can just go up in churches. You know what I mean? They can go up in schools, and now they can go in churches. And you're hearing like some of these so-called good church folks, you know, God, you know, fearing, Jesus loving folks out here hiding these folks in these churches, man. Like that's not it.
President Trump issued an executive order on increased vetting for refugees and visa applications. Part of that order was considering an outright ban for countries that have deficient screening processes. Has the president considered yet which countries might fall into this category, or countries like Afghanistan or Syria under consideration for a full ban?
Yeah, so the president signed an executive order to streamline the vetting for visa applicants and for illegal immigrants in this country who are coming, of course, from other nations. It also directed the Secretary of State to review the process and make sure that other countries around the world are being completely transparent with our nation and the individuals that they are sending here. And so the Secretary of State has been directed to report back to the president. I haven't seen that report yet. We've only been here for a few days.
One on the freeze in federal funding. Who advised the president on the legality of telling government agencies that they don't have to spend money that was already appropriated by Congress?
Well, as the OMB memo states, this is certainly within the confines of the law. So White House counsel's office believes that this is within the president's power to do it, and therefore he's doing it.
Okay, so they disagree with lawmakers who say that they don't have the power to freeze this funding.
Again, I would point you to the language in the memo that clearly states this is within the law.
And on what happened on Friday night, the administration fired several inspectors general without giving Congress the 30.
I just heard about this like a couple hours ago. Somebody I was talking to like on the phone had told me about this.
Legally required notification that they were being fired. I think only 2 were left at DHS and the DOJ. And then yesterday we saw several prosecutors, I believe 12, fired from the Justice Department who worked on the investigations into the president. As you know, they are career prosecutors, therefore they are afforded civil service protections. How is the administration deciding which laws to follow and which ones to ignore?
So it is the belief of this White House and the White House counsel's office that the president was within his executive authority to do that. He is the executive of the executive branch, and therefore he has the power to fire anyone within the executive branch that he wishes to. There's also a case that went before the Supreme Court in 2020, Scala Law LLC versus the Customs, Bureau protection. I would advise you to look at that case, and that's the legality that this White House was resting on.
So you're confident that if they bring lawsuits against you, those prosecutors who were fired, that they will succeed?
We will win in court.
And
yes.
did he
Shout out to Kev
personally
Meister.
direct this,
Appreciate you for
given
being
they
here.
worked on the classified documents investigation and the election interference investigation?
This was a memo that went out by the Presidential Personnel Office, and the president is the leader of this White House. So yes. Yes, Karoline is here.
Caroline? Thank you. Congrats on your first day behind the podium.
Thank you.
President Trump ended funding for UNRWA and also designated the Houthis a foreign terrorist organization.
That's right.
Both were decisions that the previous administration had reversed. So here's my question. Will there be an investigation into who gave the previous administration this terrible advice?
Well, let's That's a very good point. I haven't heard discussions about such an investigation, but it wouldn't be a bad idea considering that the Houthis certainly are terrorists. They have launched attacks on U.S. naval ships across this world, and so I think it was a very wise move by this administration to redesignate them as a terrorist group, because they are, and I think it was a foolish decision by the previous administration to do so. As for an investigation, I'm not sure about that, but it's not a bad idea.
Thank you for the question. I appreciate it. Can you give us an update on the president's plans for his tariff agenda? He spoke a lot about this yesterday, and there's a couple of dates coming up that he's spoken to. Number one, February 1st, he's alluded to both the potential for tariffs for Canada and Mexico, but also China to take effect on those days. What's he thinking about that?
Yeah.
Should those countries expect that?
Again, he was asked and answered this question this past weekend when he took a lot of questions from the press, and he said that the February 1st date for Canada and Mexico still holds.
What about the China 10% tariff that he also had mused about last Tuesday going into effect on the same date?
Yeah, the president has said that he is very much still considering that for February 1st.
Separately, yesterday he talked also about sectoral tariffs on, for instance, pharmaceuticals as well as semiconductor computer chips. He talked about steel, aluminum, and copper. What's the timeline on those? Is that a similar sort of coming days thing?
Yeah, so when the president talked about that in his speech yesterday, that actually wasn't a new announcement. That was within a presidential memorandum that he signed in one of the first days here in the White House on his America First trade agenda. So there's more details on those tariffs in there. As far as a date, I don't have a specific date to read out to you, but the president is committed to implementing tariffs effectively, just like he did in his first term.
Finally, he also was asked on the plane when he gaggled about the potential for a universal tariff. He was asked maybe about 2.5%. There was a report about that. He said he wanted much bigger than that. Should we understand that these tariffs would add up? You know, in other words, you might have country-specific tariffs like Canada, Mexico, China. You might have sectoral tariffs like on pharmaceuticals, as well as a potential universal tariff on top of that. Do these stack on one or the other, or would one sort of take precedence over another?
All I can point you to is what the president has said on this front. The February 1st date for Canada and Mexico, also the China tariff that he has discussed. He rejected the 2.5% tariff. He said that was a little bit too low. He wants it to be higher. I'll leave it to him to make any decisions on that front. Phil Weichman.
What the Mexicans and Canadians have done so far, do you have any comment on whether that has met the bar, what he wants to see on fentanyl? Thank you.
I won't get ahead of the president again on advocating to foreign nations on what they should or shouldn't do to get away from these tariffs. The president has made it very clear, again, that he expects every nation around this world to cooperate with the repatriation of their citizens. And the president has also put out specific statements in terms of Canada and Mexico when it comes to what he expects in terms of border security. We have seen a historic level of cooperation from Mexico, but again, as far as I'm still tracking, and that was last night talking to the president directly, February 1st is still on the books. Phil.
Thank you, Karoline. Quick programming note and then a question on taxes. In terms of programming, should we expect to see you here every day? How frequently will these press briefings be?
It is a good question, April. So look, the president, as you know, is incredibly accessible. First day here, he wanted all of you in the Oval Office. You got a 60-minute press conference with the leader of the free world while he was simultaneously signing executive orders. I may add that's pretty impressive. I don't think the previous office holder would be able to pull such a thing off. So look, the president is the best spokesperson that this White House has, and I can assure you that you will be hearing from both him and me as much as possible.
And then a question about tax cuts. The president has promised to extend the tax cuts from the previous term. I'm curious,
want more of that.
Does the president support corresponding spending cuts, as some Republicans have called for in Congress? And will the new Treasury Secretary be leading those negotiations with the Hill, as Mnuchin did during the first administration?
The president is committed to both tax cuts and spending cuts, and he has a great team negotiating on his behalf, but there's no better negotiator than Donald Trump, and I'm sure he'll be involved in this reconciliation process as it moves forward.
Karoline, in the announcement that you made last night on the Iron Dome, it said the president had directed that the United States will build this Iron Dome.
Yeah.
When you read into the executive order,
that's a great
question. It seemed short of
think.
that. It asked for a series of studies and reports back to him. Can you tell us whether the president has directed this? And if he is as concerned on this issue, why the suspensions that we saw listed by OMB included so many different nuclear programs, non-proliferation programs, programs to blend down nuclear weapons, and so forth?
First of all, when it comes to the Iron Dome, the executive order directed the implementation of an Iron Dome. It also, as you said, kind of directed research and studies to see if or how the United States can go about doing this, particularly the Department of Defense. When it comes to the other question that you asked about those specific programs, again, I would say this is not a ban. This is a temporary pause and a freeze to ensure that all of the money going out from Washington, D.C. is aligned with the president's agenda. And as the Office of Management and Budget has updates on what will be kickstarted once again, I will provide those to you.
Just to clarify for a sec what you were saying before on Medicaid.
Shout out to PBS for this broadcast. If you're enjoying this video, please consider hitting the like, share, and the subscribe button. I'm going to leave the link for this whole thing without my commentary in the description below as well. We're streaming on Twitch and YouTube at Kicking It with Timmy B, and you can also hit me up on X at KIWTB Gaming. Let's get back into it.
It wasn't clear to me whether you were saying that no Medicaid would be cut off. Obviously, a lot of this goes to states before it goes to individuals and so forth. So are you guaranteeing here that no individual now on Medicaid would see a cutoff because of the pause?
I'll check back on that and get back to you. John.
Thanks a lot, Caroline. As you know, in the first week that the president was in office, signed an executive order as it relates to birthright citizenship, trying to eliminate that. Now, 22 state attorney generals have said that this is unconstitutional. A federal judge has just agreed with their argument. What's the administration's argument for doing away with birthright citizenship?
The folks that you mentioned have a right to have that legal opinion, but it is in disagreement with the legal opinion of this administration. This administration believes that birthright citizenship is unconstitutional, and that is why President Trump signed that executive order. Illegal immigrants who come to this country and have a child are not subject to the laws of this jurisdiction. That's the opinion of this administration. We have already appealed the lawsuit that was filed against this administration, and we are prepared to fight this all the way to the Supreme Court if we have to, because President Trump believes that this is a necessary step to secure our nation's borders and protect our homeland.
On foreign policy, if I may.
I love it.
The president's commitment to the NATO Defense Alliance, is it as strong as the prior administration?
NATO.
Is it the same as when he served as president in his first term in office?
As long as NATO pays their fair share, and President Trump has called on NATO allies to increase their defense spending to 5%. You actually saw the head of NATO at Davos last week on Bloomberg television saying that President Trump is right, and if Europe wants to keep itself safe, they should increase their defense spending. I would just add that there was no greater ally to our European allies than President Trump in his first term. The world for all nations in Europe, and of course here at home, was much safer because of President Trump's peace through strength diplomatic approach.
Interesting.
Thank you, Caroline. And it's great to finally be called on as well in the briefing room. I appreciate that. Of course, we know President Trump just got back from North Carolina and California meeting with victims of natural disasters. There's the 2-year anniversary of the East Palestine, Ohio toxic train derailment. Does the president have any plans to go visit the victims of that toxic
This is a
spill, or
great.
just visit in general?
What about these people?
No plans that I can read out for you here. If that changes, I will certainly keep you posted. What I can tell you is that President Trump still talks about his visit to East Palestine, Ohio. That was one of the turning points, I would say, in the previous election campaign, where Americans were reminded that President Trump is a man of the people, and he, as a candidate, visited that town that was just derailed by the train derailment, no pun intended, and he offered support and hope, just like I saw the president do this past week. It was a purposeful decision by this president on his first domestic trip to go to North Carolina and to California to visit with Americans who were impacted by Hurricane Helene and also by the deadly fires. A red state and a blue state, both of which feel forgotten by the previous administration and the federal government. That is now ended under President Trump. He will continue to put Americans first, whether they're in East Palestine, in Pacific Palisades, or in North Carolina.
Thank you, Caroline. On California, could you please clarify what the military did with the water last night, as referenced in the president's Truth Social post?
The water has been turned back on in California, and this comes just days after President Trump visited Pacific Palisades, and as you all saw, applied tremendous pressure on state and local officials in Pacific Palisades, including Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass, to turn on the water and to direct that water to places in the south and in the middle of the state that have been incredibly dry, which has led to the expansion, the rapid expansion of these fires.
I didn't see when he pulled up there to go talk to her and to Gavin Newsom. I should probably go pull that up here. If I don't have enough time on this episode, we'll do it for the next episode, because I want to see him pull up to North Carolina and then go check out the Palisade fires. I've seen like couple second clips. I haven't seen like full on detailed video or article going over it. So anyway, let's get back to it.
Clarify what the military's role was, where the water came from, and how it got there.
Again, the Army Corps of Engineers has been on the ground in California to respond to the devastation from these wildfires. And I would point out that just days after President Trump visited the devastation from these fires, the water was turned on. That is because of the pressure campaign he put on state and local officials there who clearly lack all common sense. And I will never forget being at that roundtable with the president last week and hearing the frustration in the voices of Pacific Palisades residents who feel as though their government has just gone insane. Before President Trump showed up on the scene, Karen Bass was telling private property owners that they would have to wait 18 months to access their private property. So this administration, the president and his team that's on the ground in California, Rick Grinnell, who he has designated to oversee this great crisis, it will continue to put pressure on Karen Bass and state and local officials to allow residents to access their properties. This is a huge part of it. These residents want to take part in their own clearing out of their properties. They should be able to do that. It's the United States of America. What happened to our freedom? Clearly it's gone in California, but not anymore under President Trump. April.
Bars. Wow. I love that. Yo, stuff's getting done right now. I love to see it.
Welcome to the briefing room.
I love to hear
several questions. One on the pause. Will minority serving institutions, preferably colleges and universities, have those monies held back temporarily at this moment?
Again, I have not seen the entire list because this memo was just sent out. So I will provide you all with updates as we receive them, okay?
Secondly, when it comes to immigration, there is this southern border focus. What happens to those who've overstayed their visas? That is part of the broken immigration system. In 2023, there was a report by the Biden administration, the Homeland Security Department, that said overstays of visas were 3 times more than usual. Will there be a focus on the overstays for visas as well?
If an individual is overstaying their visa, they are therefore an illegal immigrant residing in this country, and they are subject to deportation.
And also,
yes.
lastly,
No
as
joke.
we're dealing with anti-DEI, anti-woke efforts, we understand this administration is thinking about celebrating Black History Month. Have you got any word on that? Anything that you can offer to us?
As far as I know, this White House certainly still intends to celebrate, and we will continue to celebrate American history and the contributions that all Americans, regardless of race, religion, or creed, have made to our great country, and America is back. Christian Dave.
Let's go.
Thanks, Caroline.
Simple,
just
clear
real
and
quick,
simple, to
you
the
mentioned
point.
the inflation executive order the president signed, but egg prices have skyrocketed since President Trump took office. So what specifically is he doing to lower those costs?
That's a great question.
Really glad you brought this up.
Everybody
because
wants to
there is
know.
a lot of reporting out there that is putting the onus on this White House for the increased cost of eggs. I would like to point out to each and every one of you that in 2024, when Joe Biden was in the Oval Office or upstairs with the residents sleeping, I'm not so sure, egg prices increased 65% in this country. We also have seen the cost of everything, not just eggs. Bacon, groceries, gasoline have increased because of the inflationary policies of the last administration. As far as the egg shortage, what's also contributing to that is that the Biden administration and the Department of Agriculture directed the mass killing of more than 100 million chickens, which has led to a lack of chicken supply in this country, therefore a lack of egg supply, which is leading to the shortage. So I will leave you with this point. This is an example of why it's so incredibly important that the Senate moves swiftly to confirm all of President Trump's nominees,
And get these
including his
people in
nominee
here
for the United States
so
Department
they
of
get to work.
Agriculture, Brooke Rollins, who is already speaking with Kevin Hassett, who's leading the economic team here at the White House, on how we can address the egg shortage in this country. As for costs, I laid out the costs. I laid out the plethora of ways that President Trump has addressed saving costs for the American people over the past week. He looks forward to continuing to doing that in the days ahead. Thank you, guys.
America.
Are Medicaid portals down in all
So
50 states?
here's what I will say about that. This lady is very professional. I can see why President Donald Trump picked this lady. She is no BS. She's clear and concise, just like I said at the beginning of this. Clear and concise and to the point. The whole egg thing, I mean, if anybody was following, there's a bunch of farms that like went up ablaze. There's this bird flu thing going on. All these animals, like we're just winding up like dead and stuff like that. It's just all kinds of stuff. These folks aren't getting enough water to their farms and everything, contributing to the costs, like the crazy costs and like eggs. I mean, that is still something that is going to take forever, I feel like, to lower, because President Donald Trump's executive orders and all these legislative things that go through the Senate and through the agriculture department have to go through. He's got to get these people confirmed. They got to start doing what they're doing. They're doing their investigations and figuring out how did they get so, like, how did these people get the inflation to be so like crazy, and how could they go in there to be able to bring that down? I mean, she talked about the immigration, like the birthright, like citizenship. I mean, that's wild. She definitely said, like, if you, what did she say? She said something about if you showed up here and had a kid here, and you were, and you illegally showed up here and you had a child, it does not matter. You, and then she mentioned the folks who overstay their visas. Like, that seems I feel like that's always been an issue, but it's probably an issue now more than ever. She said if they overstayed their visa, they are considered a criminal. It's crazy. That's crazy how you could just shift like that, man. I mean, it's always been like that. At least when that law was implemented, it's just it being enforced. Now it's truly being enforced right now. It's a crazy time. It's a crazy thing to see. So, I mean, beyond that, she mentioned the drone thing. Hopefully we get some more information, but the FAA, and it's just a bunch of private folks with their drones, and then just a bunch of suspicious, normal, privately owned drone people going out and going, let me go get my drone and go see what's going on. I have a hard time believing that is what all of those drones were. I don't know. What else did she mention? I just thought that she was pretty good at answering a lot of the questions here too. It seems like, I would say, is what I'm trying to say, she got the way, like the vibe of the room, or the temperature of the room, and got a lot of different questions, or a lot of different people, and listen to some of their questions. You could tell because the one lady, she goes, thank you for acknowledging me, or it's thank you for acknowledging me. It's great to finally have someone finally take my question here, because it is what I'm saying. It seemed like she was stating that Karoline, she worked here. She's been working here for a long time. She worked here under Karoline Jean-Pierre's little press secretary stint, and I would assume by what she was saying that Karoline Jean-Pierre never called upon this person for their questions. So that seems very telling of Karoline Jean-Pierre and like the Biden administration or Biden-Harris administration. I forgot what her specific question was. I thought it was pretty decent, but she sounded like a very intelligent journalist. So it didn't seem like a dumb question, right? You know what I mean? Like, for this woman not to be called upon, I guess, I don't know. There's a lot of people to call upon, but if she's been here for so long, you would think that you would have one kind of moment to talk to her, and it seemed like she might have. I don't know this lady's story, back whole thing, but just off of that's all the information I'm putting together to make this to formulate this. So it seemed like the last administration, obviously, they didn't really take a lot of questions, or they took questions, but they took questions from the people that they picked before even going into the room, kind of vibes. Like that's kind of shady. But anyway, that's what I think about Karoline Leavitt. She's the press secretary under Donald Trump's second administration. Once again, she is 27. She is the youngest press secretary in the United States American history. She's the 36th press secretary. It's your boy Kicking It with Timmy B. Let me know what you folks think about her and all the other things that she said. There's a lot of important things going on, especially with the Medicare, the fast, all this different stuff that they're talking about cutting or whatever. She speaks about a lot of it. Let me know what you folks think in the comment section below. Hit the like, share, and the subscribe button. We got more for you. All right, so we checked out Karoline Leavitt. Oh yeah, we should be good. Boom. All right, so let's get this. The lady actually seems pretty cool. Man, that's crazy. She's got some bars. Oh man, this is gonna be great. I don't know how do I do this without getting caught up here by NBC News. Does it have their little music? Nah, we could just go right to it. So, just to add some context, apparently, Dr. Phil is rolling with Tom Homan, the border czar. We're pulling up on some undocumented folks and arrested them. I got some footage here by NBC News. Shout out to NBC News. Hopefully they don't get me for this. I just want to see this. We got to react to this. This is crazy. So this was 2 days ago, and they wrote up on this fool, and we're about to hear his story. Shout out to Tom Homan. Shout out to Dr. Phil. Shout out to these brave men and women of ICE and the law enforcement nabbing these bad guys. Let's check this out.
Yeah. Are you a citizen?
My mother's a citizen.
Your mother's a citizen?
Yes.
But you're not?
Nope.
But you've never been deported before?
You Dr. Phil. You got Dr. Phil.
Are you Dr. Phil? It's like, bro, just answer the question, man.
Yeah? How do you know me?
No, I seen Dr. Phil, on TV.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this is an example of sanctuary cities, right? We got an illegal alien convicted of sex crimes involving children. And he's walking the streets of Chicago. Again, the downfall, the problem with the sanctuary city, that people like us walking the street rather than local law enforcement working with federal agents. This is what we're dealing with.
They're in Chicago right now.
You've been charged with sex crimes with children?
Not really.
This man said, not really, though. Come on, bruh.
Not really.
What?
All right, and with that, Dr. Phil McGraw joins Top Story once again. He's the host of Dr. Phil, Prime Time on Merit TV. Dr. Phil, it's great to see you again. So, Dr. Phil, I'm going to ask you this very plainly, right? Everyone knows who you are. You're a psychologist, Hall of Fame broadcaster, you're a celebrity. What exactly were you doing there this weekend on those raids?
Well, Tom, thanks for having me again. It's good to see you again. This is something that I deal with what people are interested in and how it's impacting their lives. And our viewing audience is very interested in these immigration laws and what's happening. It was one of the top issues on people's minds culturally and what's impacting their family. And we talk about the things that people are interested in on Merit TV. And what we want to do is show them with full transparency what's actually happening. And, there's been a lot of talk out there about sweeping through neighborhoods, just picking up people indiscriminately. And I wanted to see if that was happening.
Yo, Dr. Phil said, I wanna roll with the boys in blue and I wanna go nab some bad guys. Let's go, dude. Not even like the boys in blue. He wanted to roll with Tom Holman. He said, Tom Holman, let me go on a ride along, bruh. Let's go.
Part of
That's so awesome.
Embedding within this group was to ask Tom Holman hard questions. I asked him, are you just sweeping through neighborhoods and picking up people that are here illegally? And he said, no, that's not our intention. We have our plan right now is worst first. We're going after those that have the worst criminal records first. And this is a surgical, tactical plan to go in and get those people. And sanctuary cities are not letting them know when they have these people in custody so they can come to the jail and pick them up. And what's happening with sanctuary cities is they're creating that which they want the least, and that is they're causing these agents, as Gabe was talking about, to go into the communities and arrest these people on the job or in their neighborhoods. And when they go in to get someone that's a violent criminal, whoever's with them, they're going to find out who those people are, and they may wind up arresting them as well, because when they run into someone that is in the country illegally, they are going to detain them and move them for deportation. That's not going to happen if they'll let them know when these people are in jail and being released back into the community. Pick them up right there.
Dr. Phil, from what you saw, were these undocumented immigrants being treated humanely?
Absolutely. I was there at 4 a.m. when they had the...
You have to make that known, because these people will be out. Yeah, my God. I already have the Selena Gomez video ready to go. It's, oh my God, I'm treating them. You got to let these folks know they're bad guys. You know what I mean? They're going to be treated like bad guys, but they're going to be treated with some dignity and respect, as long as they treat the law enforcement and everyone else with dignity and respect. You know what I mean? Everything will be cool, but if you start with that BS, you're gonna what is the whole thing? It's to F around and find out. Come on, man. This stuff is real. This stuff is real, man. Yo, Dr. Phil's pulling up with Tom Holman out here, bro.
This was a multi-agency meeting with...
It's dark outside, looks cold. It ain't no bright and sunny day. Dr. Phil's not sitting. I mean, he's probably sitting in the car at some point, but he's not he's out here. He's out here talking to that dude. He's not talking to him from the car. He's out there. He ain't got no hat on. He got the bald head and everything. Shout out to Dr. Phil, bruh. I be putting a hat on. It'd be cold outside. I'd be like, oh, it's cold outside, and I got hair on my head or somewhat. This guy, he ain't got no hair on his head, or he's got some, and he ain't even have a hat on. He was out there. He's out there.
ICE, DEA, ATF, FBI, U.S. Marshals, and their number one concern was the safety of their agents, of all the people in the community, and of the people that they were targeting. Even though they're criminals, they were very concerned with their safety and getting them detained out of the community and into custody safely. They said, let's make sure everybody gets home safely today.
That's crazy. Yeah, shout out to NBC News. I don't want to play anymore because I don't want them to try to get me on like a copyright. They this is like a really cool segment. I'm gonna leave the link in the description below for this. If you enjoyed any of this coverage so far, please consider hitting the like, share, and the subscribe button. Once again, we're streaming on X at KIWTB Gaming, and then you can also find me streaming live on Twitch and YouTube at Kicking It with Timmy B. We got another video here for you. We got some more deportation ICE raids going on. Apparently this is in New York City. We got Kristi Noem, who was just confirmed. Kristi Noem, the Department of Homeland Security Secretary Noem. Let's go check out what she's doing. Shout out to Fox News.
So 15 minutes now before the hour is breaking news right now. It's happening. Kristi Noem is in New York today with ICE agents continuing their apprehension of criminal illegal aliens in major American cities. Thus far, more than 7,300 have been taken off the streets in 1 week alone. And now the focus is New York City. That's a big focus, too. Alexis McAdams on the sidewalk to tell us what's happening out there. Alexis, good morning.
Hey, Bill. Well, we've talked about it for months, the migrant crime all across the Big Apple. So now those crackdowns are here. As we speak, ICE is raiding areas specifically out in the Bronx, and they're looking to target, Bill, migrants who they say are dangerous, including a Venezuelan man who was arrested earlier this morning who they say is dangerous. Take a look here, okay? This is some of the video. These guys rolled out into the streets of New York around 3 o'clock this morning. ICE agents out there on the streets. DHS showing us this video of the suspect cuffed, taken into custody out in the Bronx. The Venezuelan migrant arrested on these charges, okay? Kidnapping, assault, and burglary. Authorities say he crossed into the U.S. illegally at some point and had a warrant for his arrest out in Colorado, so they were looking for him for quite some time. Leading the charge this morning, DHS Secretary Kristi Noem, who says she's on the ground doing exactly what President Trump promised the American people. This was a multi-agency effort. Federal, state, local partners, you name it, they're all out there.
These folks got NVGs on. They got the whole kit. These people are ready to go. These people are ready to go. They got a lot of folks out here.
The ICE raids aim to remove violent criminals who are not supposed to be in this country in the first place. Back out here live, the raids are not just happening right here in New York City, but across the country. We've been showing it to you since the start of the administration. This is something the president said he was going to do, including a raid out in Denver. Watch.
Wow. Oh.
And the task force arresting 2 migrants there from Mexico who have ties to the Sinaloa and Jalisco drug cartels. 130,000 fentanyl pills found in that apartment, along with cocaine, meth, and heroin. The border czar says this is just the start of these raids. Back out here in New York, they've already arrested a suspect who they say is a suspected terrorist who was hiding out in New York the other day. And they got him behind bars. So this continues as these guys are still out in the streets right now.
Well, they could go for some.
It's cold outside. Those folks had like freaking riot shields. Yeah, they're not playing. They're not playing.
I'm too. Alexis, thank you. Nice to see you. Alexis McAdams outside with us today.
All right, let's bring in retired NYPD Lieutenant Darren Porcher. Darren, great to have you with us this afternoon. I don't ever remember seeing Alejandro Mayorkas on the street during ICE raids helping to get rid of these people. And we know who they are. This is what gets me. They already know who these people are. They're just removing them.
Right. Well, it's clearly we have diametric enforcement as it relates to this administration compared to the prior administration. But it really begs the question, and it's quite telling, what the American people wanted was immigration reform.
Right.
They want these illegal migrants that have come into this country to be removed because you have a lot more people that have come to this country lawfully. And believe it or not, it's those lawful migrants that want the illegal migrants removed from this country. 55% of Latino males voted for Trump's agenda because it pushed the perspective of getting rid of these illegal migrants.
They want to be safe, too.
And question of priorities, too. I mean, New York City in 2 years has spent $7 billion on nearly 230,000 illegals seeking asylum here.
That's
They want
wild.
to charge you more money for driving your car in Midtown. It's extraordinary.
Crazy.
Illegal immigrants, here we go, 759,000 total. However, 58,626 with criminal convictions or pending criminal charges, and that's the number.
Illegal immigrants in New York City as of November 17, 2024, over 1,053 with suspected or known gang affiliation. 58,626 with criminal convictions or pending criminal charges. That's 759,218 illegal immigrants in New York City. And there's 58,000 that have criminal convictions and pending criminal charges out of that, and 1,000 of them with suspected or known gang affiliation. What about the rest of them? That's crazy, bro.
That people like Tom Homan's going after.
Absolutely right. Look at it from the perspective of a macro and a micro level of enforcement. The macro is the broader perspective of the country. The micro is the focus on cities, which are sanctuary cities such as New York. The target is getting these illegal migrants out. We want to live in a safe society. And what you're going to see from the micro perspective in these sanctuary cities such as New York and Chicago, the crime rates are going to go down because we're going to remove a lot of these illegal migrants from these cities.
Yeah, here's my conversation a while back with Mayor Eric Adams about this, because it could change politics in the city as well. Here's what he said when I asked him about letting ICE do their work.
Find a way through executive orders to allow ICE to function in this city, to carry out deportations?
We're going to allow them to, the areas where we can allow them to do right now, we're going to sit down with our attorneys and see what executive orders I can do to give me more power to go after those who are creating illegal acts.
How does that square with what you're seeing on the street right now?
Well, I think Mayor Adams is closing the gate after the horses already escaped. I mean, this illegal migration has reached epic proportions, and there were many instances in the past where this could have been thwarted and it didn't happen. I think that he's getting on the bandwagon, but fortunately, the progression is going in the right direction to keeping us as the 8.5 million residents being safe. We're under siege based on this migrant crisis. When you go blocks away, you see a migrant shelter everywhere, and the crime is going through the roof.
Wow. He's going in right now. Hold up. Immigration crackdown, ICE arrests. Total since Trump inauguration is 4,000. So he's hitting almost 5 every single day, besides 2 days of the week. He had less than 500. Wow. Monday, 1,000? That's crazy.
But hopefully we can get the job done.
Darren, what do you do when the churches or the schools protect them?
How do you feel about having a violent migrant in a school? So just think about that as a parent. Do you want a violent migrant in the schools? No. So there should be no holds barred. You should have the ability to go in there, if you have a warrant or not, to remove a violent individual from a school to ensure that our students are safe.
Right. Yo, shout out to Fox News. I mean, it's crazy that you that you need a piece of paper to go in and go do that. If you know for sure, if these folks have 100% positive intel that this person, this individual is in this school, you get them out. You get them out. I mean, this supersedes anything that any of these people, in my personal opinion, could just throw out here, man. You can't be harboring dangerous criminals, man. You can't be harboring dangerous criminals. You can't be harboring dangerous illegal criminals either. That doesn't, like, that's insane, bruh. That's insane. It's a tough job because you got to roll up in this school. You got all these freaking weapons going in, all these folks, like, it's just with these young kids in there who's just supposed to be in there learning, you know what I mean? But now they have to have their day interrupted because their school is accepting these illegal migrant children in them. that it's just like it's oh man, it's crazy, bro. Ladies and gentlemen, it is insane. But the whole point of this is, if they're here illegally, wherever they're at, if they're in the United States, we need to get them out. And one thing, I forgot to mention that Karoline Leavitt said something to the effect that President Donald Trump told her that the message needs to go out to not even just the United States. It needs to go out to every country that is part of NATO, that is allied with the United States. They need to be doing their own repatriation programs, but realistically, they need to be looking within themselves and figuring out if they have any of these illegal migrants in their own countries, and they need to start taking action so they can become safer. You know what I mean? So they can start taking care of their constituents, the people who inhabit these countries. You know what I mean? In these countries, in these cities. But this isn't just a United States thing. This is a worldwide thing, but it needs to start here, and we need to get these folks, the bad folks, out of here. If you came here illegally, you gotta go. If you got a record, you're over here stealing, robbing, and hurting women and children and all this other stuff, that ain't it. That ain't it, and you gotta go. I'm sorry. There's no sympathy. But anyway, just checking out more of this info of what's going on in New York City, these ICE raids. The new Department of Homeland Security Secretary, Kristi Noem, she's doing an absolute stunning job. She's leading the charge here, and she's doing a way better job than that guy, Secretary Mayorkas, who, in my personal opinion, he did a terrible job. So now this lady, a woman, has to come in and go clean up after this man because he can't go and do he didn't do his job, and all the bureaucracy that goes into it. So anyway, it's your boy Kicking It with Timmy B. Let me know what you folks think in the comment section below. Hit the like, share, and the subscribe button. We're streaming on YouTube and Twitch at Kicking It with Timmy B, and we're streaming on X at KIWTB Gaming. All right, we got one more video. Actually, I don't. I think I was just gonna cruise. Were we gonna cruise the? Oh, that's right. That's right. We do. We have one more video. Aha. Let's go check this out. Turn it up a little bit, and then I'll put this over here. So apparently, let's set this up here. Selena Gomez was going viral over the past couple of days. She was just sobbing and weeping over the deportations that are going on. And it seems like she just got ratioed. I don't know about canceled, but we'll have to go check this out. Apparently this person, Sassafras, seen on X, goes, I didn't have Selena Gomez on my bingo card getting canceled in January of 2025. Where were you when 350 children went missing from the border? Where were you when Americans were being killed by illegals? Where were you when cartels were bringing fentanyl across our borders? Say their name, Selena. And that's got 500,000 views. And that was posted yesterday. Today is January 28th, 2025, as you could see. Okay, so let's go see what Senora Gomez have to say about all this.
I just want to say that I'm so sorry. All my people are getting attacked. Children. I don't understand. I'm so sorry. I wish I could do something, but I can't. I don't know what to do. I'll try everything, I promise.
Well, I mean, we're definitely going to go check out the comments. Me personally, I think that, she has every right to go and cry for these people, but why though? You are an American. We are your people, the Americans, not these illegal immigrants that are murderers and came here illegally. Not all of them are murderers, but these people came here illegally. They are criminals. Like, I don't understand how you would want to associate yourself with these folks. And to my knowledge, she has like a lot of these big homes. She could just house these people, right? Why don't you start paying to have people come here legally and they can live here, at your spot. You know what I mean? I don't understand why we all have to suffer, because it's just insane. I don't even, it's so out of touch these celebrities are. I think that's what I'll say about her and all these other folks. Just so out of touch, man. These people do not understand the temperature of the room, and they might have been down here at some point, but they're so far on this pedestal that they are on in their own minds that they cannot comprehend like common sense and reality and logic. Like, I could see where she's having this issue, but where, like as Sassafras says, where was she with talking about any of these 350,000 children? Which I just heard that Tom Homan found like 70 something thousand children already or something. It's crazy. We got to go look into that too. But it's just, where was Selena Gomez, right? Didn't she like date Justin Bieber? I'm hearing some stuff about Justin Bieber. Aren't you going to speak on what's going on like with him? Over something like this? This is so out of like, I feel like this is so out of left field. But anyway, this kind of my thoughts. These are some folks in the comment section talking about Selena Gomez. I heard she took that video down. Yes. So this video is deleted off of her social media. Obviously that probably wasn't for the best. She wanted to put eyes onto the subject, but I feel like you don't need to be on here bawling your eyes out for these criminals, man. Or criminals, lady. Like, come on now. This will forever be her legacy. Krasenstein. That's Krasenstein parody. Okay. This will forever be her legacy. That's crazy. Bought and paid for by the left. When have AOC and Selena Gomez? Let me see it. When have they cried for American children? Exactly. Cry me a river. She be gone like that. Sure, she be gone just like that. It's a shame, but at least her last name is Gomez. That ties her to them. Someone goes, and the Oscar goes to not Selena. Man, that's crazy. Yeah, people are going in, and she is crying for clicks and campaigning for more. That, man, I don't even want to even get into all that. I didn't even know about that, but that seems like stuff that, to each their own. Agreed, people like her on the wrong side of history, plain and simple. All those young ladies on the right side of the screen, which that'll be the ending part of this broadcast and this segment here. All those young ladies on the right side of the screen would be here right now if it wasn't for Joe Biden and the establishment government policies. These people are so much and I don't like the. Anyway, don't worry. Taylor will revive her from her cancel when she will be seen talking to Justin for publicity. Nothing to worry about. Like, what the heck, man? Their own countries don't want them back. So what the heck does that say about them? They go, Selena Gomez allegedly is a hater of America. She'd rather have criminal, illegal aliens maim and hurt and terrorize people and young folks and getting them in the, man, it's wild. Yeah, folks aren't falling for it. Folks aren't falling for it. So let's go check this out. These are real people that we need to be speaking on here. These are the real individuals that we need to be speaking on here. Kayla Hamilton, Ruby Garcia, Lisbeth Medina, Rachel Morin, Laken Riley, Jocelyn Nongre, Jocelyn Toquiza, Melody Waldecker, and Molly Tibets. Man, you gotta say their names. You gotta say their names. Interesting. All right, folks. We got a lot more here for you. More news. More updates for you. Please consider hitting the like, share, and the subscribe button. Please let me know if you learned something here today. I would love to know if you learned something, how I can improve any of this stuff, and what do you want me to look into next, right? So anyway, it's your boy Kicking It With Timmy B. Please hit me up on Kick or on YouTube and Twitch at Kicking It With Timmy B, and hit me up on X at KIWTB Gaming. We got a lot more. I'm telling you, it's going to be a crazy 4 years. So anyway, we're in week 2 of President Donald Trump's administration. God bless everybody, and God bless our troops. I'll see you on the next one. Bye.